Hello everyone and welcome to my first ever weekly wrap up. So if you watched my last video, my check-in with Alex video, you will know that I want to start doing these little weekly wrap up reading update, currently reading type things every weekend from now on. So hopefully they will go up on Saturdays, but obviously if one Saturday I'm busy, it will go up on the Sunday. At some point every weekend, I hope to be able to give you a weekly reading update and a currently reading. So just while these books are so fresh and raw in my mind, so that you get a little bit of a better analysis of them as opposed to if I waited till the end of the month. So in this video I have 3 books to talk about, which I think is pretty good really, considering that I'm working full time now. I don't have as much time as I used to sit down with my books, so I think 3 books since the start of April isn't so bad. I gave all 3 of them 4 stars as well, so it has been a pretty good reading month for me so far. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is The Goose Road by Rowena House, and this is a recently released historical fiction debut set in France in the First World War. Our main character is a young girl called Angelique, whose father has died in the war, and she has made a promise to keep the family farm going until her older brother can get back from war and help her to run it. And she and her mother are very poor, they have a lot of debts and they don't have any money to pay them. So together with her uncle, she goes on a journey across France with the family's pretty sizable, very lovely flock of geese, where she knows that she can get a really good price for them way up the other end of the country. And also there she will get news, hopefully, from her brother, who she hasn't heard from in quite a long time. It is just such a lovely, heartfelt family story. It's a really lovely romance angle thrown in there as well. I really love the little love story. I loved Angelique as a character. She was really badass for a girl of her time, actually. Really fierce and fearless. And it was just so simply written, but it was just such a lovely story. I learned so much because I've not really read a lot of books set in World War One. I've read quite a few World War Two books, but I've certainly never read a book set in World War One France before. So I really loved that. Really unique historical fiction. There is actually a UK giveaway for this book on my channel right now, so I will leave a link to that video that lets you know how you can enter to win a copy of this book if you're eligible to. So if you want to, obviously give that video a watch. There's also a full review of this on my blog, which I will of course leave a link to in the description down below. There is also a piece written by Rowena House on my blog talking about her inspirations for writing this wonderful historical fiction debut. So yeah, give all of that a read and a watch if you are more interested. So yeah, 4 stars to The Goose Road. The next one I'm going to talk about is the exact opposite of OK by Laura Stephen, and this is a recently released YA contemporary following a girl called Izzy who is 18. She is an orphan, she lives with her grandmother, she wants to be a screenwriter, and she has a pretty hilarious blog. And the book is actually written pretty much in the format of her blog, but she's looking back a few years later after the action of what the blog is talking about, and she adds like funny little edits in brackets, basically expanding on how she feels about what's going on in the blog post and things like that. And it is just really funny. So the action centers around Izzy as an 18-year-old, and she unapologetically loves having sex, basically, and she's not actually too bothered about who she chooses to have sex with, but this centers around an incident where she sent nudes to one of the guys that she was sleeping with. He sent nudes back, and somebody did some underhand phone hacking, and these nudes got leaked to a website that was slut-shaming Izzy, basically. And it all centers around how she deals with the fact that she is getting so much hate for this, but the guys that she's having sex with are getting absolutely none of it, and if anything, they're actually getting congratulated and rewarded. And it's all about her enlisting the help of her very hilarious best friend Ajita to basically take on society and change the way that it sees teenage girls who are ultimately just doing something that they really love. unapologetically having sex and sending nudes and just having fun ultimately. It is just so funny. I actually started off not being too keen on Izzy. I thought she was a little bit annoying and just a little bit silly, but by the end she'd completely turned me around. She'd won me over. I really liked her. The sense of humour reminded me of the Louise Renison, Georgia Nicholson books, but it's a much more mature version of that series because obviously those girls are only in their early teens and this is like a much more mature version, but the sense of humour is really similar. It really reminded me of those girls. So if you liked that sense of humour, I think you'll probably like this book, but it was just really funny. There is actually a full review of this on my blog too, so I will of course leave a link to that review in the description down below, so give that a read if you are more interested. And the last book that I managed to finish this month so far, I also gave 4 stars to, and that is Clean by Juno Dawson. And this is a recent release. It came out on the 5th of April, I think. There is actually a full review of this on my blog too, so I will of course leave a link to that review in the description down below. But this is about a socialite called Lexi. She's 17 years old and she's very much a party girl, and she is into drugs. She is into a lot of boys that she probably shouldn't be into, and she's just in not a really good place, but she fails to see this until she takes a heroin overdose and her brother rightly puts her in rehab and she's a total mess, and basically it's just about her journey of recovery, and she meets a lot of amazing, interesting characters in rehab. That her rehab is on like this isolated island, and it's especially for young people who are in trouble, namely young rich people like her who have got into drugs or other addictions and things like that. Amazing cast of characters, so interesting, in a really unique setting as well. I don't think I've ever read another YA book set in rehab with the incredible diverse array of characters that are in this book. So it's all about her basically learning to become clean, and she learns that love is a pretty strong addiction, and love can be very painful, but it can also be very rewarding, and it's just a really beautiful story. It really is, and it's all about Lexi learning about her true self and how she can live without drugs and be in a better place and have all these prospects and an amazing future ahead of her. Really loved it. So yeah, definitely check this out if you're looking for a really unique YA read. It's marketed as YA because Lexi and her friends are teenagers at the end of the day, but I'd say it's probably definitely for the more mature end of YA because there is swearing in it, there is sex in it and things like that, and obviously drug content too. So yeah, just be aware of that if you're sensitive to any of that. So yeah, that is a Clean. And that is it for the books that I've managed to finish so far this month. I'm actually currently reading The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, and it feels like I've been reading this book forever. It is quite chunky. It's like 500, just over 500 pages, and I'm about halfway through it, not quite halfway through, but I'm struggling with it if I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't know whether that's just me falling out of YA fantasy in general because I've not really fancied any YA fantasy recently, but I am going to read it. I am going to plough through it. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself to finish it by next week or anything, but I will probably, definitely, hopefully finish it before the end of this month. So this is the first in a new YA fantasy series, set in a world inspired by the Middle East. There are lots of jinn tribes who are at war and things like that. There are 2 strands to this story, so it's alternate chapters between a girl called Nari, who is apparently the last descendant of this tribe of magical healers who everyone thought had died out, but she turns out to be the last remaining descendant, and she is on a journey with a jinn slave to get to the magical city of Daevabad. And the other chapters are from a guy called Ali, who is the prince of Daevabad, and it's just him basically learning to become a prince, dealing with all of the dramas between the jinn tribes that are still going on in Daevabad. And it's okay, but it's just very slow. I do actually really like both of the main characters, Nari and Ali, but I'm not really loving it, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. I do actually really appreciate all of the very unique magical creatures that I'm meeting as well, but we'll see how it goes. I will finish it, but I'm just not going to put too much pressure on myself to finish it quickly or anything like that. So yeah, we will see if I like it a little bit more once I've read a little bit more of it. And that is it for this week's wrap up. What are you reading and what have you read recently? Please let me know. I will leave all of my social media in the description down below. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye bye.